All right. Welcome everyone. It's Riley, and we're here with the final teaser for the expansion. Tomorrow being the announcement, of course, which is going to be huge. You guys have voted. I'm going to make a video tomorrow. But I kind of decided, so I'm going to do a video. And I also want to do probably a stream. So I'll be doing a video during the day because probably the reveal is going to be at noon. I don't think it's going to be a live stream. I have a feeling that if they were going to do a live stream, they would have already announced that. Because when it's a live stream, they have to have people watching, right? Like they have to have people in the stream. So I don't think it's a live stream. They would have announced that, I think. So it's going to be a blog post or maybe a long video, right? Like I think it's going to be one of those. For Path of Fire, like I said, they did like a 30-minute video or something where they like kind of just talked about all kinds of things, and we got to see all the different like elite specializations and stuff. But I think with the more recent, with this model, with this new model of expansions and stuff, I think it's been that they just do like blog posts, right? We get like separate different blog posts about it, and then we get more as time goes on and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a blog post. So I'm going to do coverage of that tomorrow. I'll do video. I'll go through all of that stuff with you guys. I'll theorize on what we could see, like location wise, and elite specs and blah blah blah, all this stuff. We'll talk about lore. We'll talk about story, right? Which is two of my most favorite parts, right? So we'll do that tomorrow. And then I'm thinking in the evening, depending on how late everything kind of works out, I might do a stream tomorrow. So I'll hang out in Guild Wars 2 tomorrow. Just so you guys know, I do stream on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Kick all at the same time. Okay, so you guys can see me on any of those. I think so on YouTube, it's obviously a Raleigh, as you guys can see, it's on this channel, right? Then on Twitch, it's also a Raleigh. It's the same icon, it's the same name. And then on Kick, if you guys watch on Kick, I think it's like a Raleigh 1992 or something like that, because they didn't have a Raleigh available. So that's where I stream on, just so you guys know. And also something that I guess people weren't aware of, all of my live streams, just so you guys know, they are all under my life tab. If you go on my channel, they're under my life tab. You go in there and it brings up all of the past, I think 2 to 3 years of live streams that I've done. So all of my past live streams are always on there. So even if you guys miss my live streams, you can always go back and watch them. And you can even watch them at your own leisure, right? Like you can put it on, watch an hour of it, do whatever, come back, do another hour of it, right? Like you can watch it however you want to, which is really nice. So, but I wanted to make that sure because we have some really good times on the channel when we live stream. Like we have a really good time, and many times we even have like really good like theory crafting and stuff that we do, and it's just really fun to like kind of have that. If people want to go back and watch the older streams and stuff like that. So, just wanted to point that out. Then also, and I'm just kind of doing a couple of announcements before, not announcements or whatever, but kind of discussion points before we get into this. But yesterday, I released my Janthia Wells review. So first of all, thank you to everyone that watched that. Thank you for all the comments. It was kind of validating a little bit because a lot of people agreed with many of the points that I had on it. I just wanted to say that it's not like, the thing is, I know that I kind of focused on most of the negative things, but it's because I know it comes from, and I said this in yesterday's video, I want to, or not yesterday's video, on Saturday's video, but I just, it's coming from a place of like, I know they can do better, right? And it's almost like when a parent scolds their child, but because they know that it's because they didn't give 100%, or they didn't like plan it out correctly or whatever, right? Like it's the same thing. Like I'm not here to scold ArenaNet. Like obviously I don't know what it takes to be a developer, but obviously this is from a consumer standpoint, but I know that ArenaNet can deliver a lot better. They can do a lot better, and that's kind of where I was coming from. I was trying to be very constructive. I was trying to like kind of design it, and lay it out, right? Like on how I would have liked to have seen the different maps, the different areas, the different lore, the characters, the story, like all of this like split up in all these different parts, and how I think that towards the end, both of these expansions in this expansion model kind of, they lost their steam really hard. They dropped off really hard because it seems like it's just too much. It's too much for this 1 year of releases, and they could do a lot smaller and it would still be okay if we get like higher quality, right? So thank you for everyone that watched that. And yeah, so let's get into into this last image. Now, this last one, I will say beforehand, is very interesting again because we have another weapon one, or what looks to be a weapon, right? And those always throw me off because we're not getting weapons, and it's always like people are saying like, well, maybe we'll talk about that as we go on. So let's look at it before I do all of that. So let me pull it up here. Um, so there. So that's the image. Okay, so we get a shield, right? Looks like a lot of people were saying like bulwark or something, like where it's like a very defensive type, like a tank type of thing. And it's always so interesting because tanks aren't technically a thing in Guild Wars, right? There's like versions of that in Guild Wars, but we don't really necessarily have tanks in Guild Wars. So it's very interesting. What could this mean? What could this mean for the mechanics and the roles that this elite specialization could possibly take, right? Immediately people thought of Guardian, right? Because Guardian is supposed to be like the paladin class, which is almost this heavy armored warrior type, right? Like heavy armor soldier that is all about like defensive stuff, right? In a lot of ways, uses holy magic and is defensive, right? That's kind of the Guardian is the iteration of the paladin in Guild Wars 2, but they've never really taken a defensive side. When you look at like Dragon Hunter is very offensive, right? Like in the way that they utilize their things, right? It's like about like longbow and traps, and it's more like I said before. I think the multi-classing, the dual classing does exist in Guild Wars 2, but in the sense that elite specializations take up one of the other elites or one of the other professions and kind of incorporates it. So the Dragon Hunter is like a really good example of that, where the Dragon Hunter is a guardian / ranger, and it gets the longbow, it gets the traps that the ranger has, right? And it kind of has like it's a ranger through the eyes of a guardian, right? Like in the sense of like that was the trope that the ranger had originally, and then kind of the guardian took that on in a way, right? So so how would this fit, right? Like one of the things that I want to point out again is, and I pointed this out with the helmet that we got, right? A lot of people were saying, oh, this is obviously the Paragon. The Paragon, the warrior's going to get the one with the helmet with the wings on it. And I pointed out, I'm like, well, the core symbol is already a helmet that looks very similar, that has wings on it, right? And it has like the slits for eyes. Like it's not even a completely different looking helmet. It's even in style very similar on what it looks like. And it's kind of weird to me. So I'm like, I don't know, right? Like, because I'm like, I don't want to, I still feel that way, where I think it's very weird that we would get an elite spec that has an icon that almost represents the core icon of that profession. It's kind of strange to me in a weird way, right? Like it doesn't really, obviously maybe I'm putting too much, like I'm focusing too much on the icon itself. Like we don't, like, remember, we don't really deal with the icons themselves, right? The icons themselves, we see them in game, yes, right? But like when we're playing it, it's not like this icon is going to play a big role in what we're doing, right? So it's kind of like, for example, like when I think of the Mechanist one, I can barely even think, oh, the Mechanist one is kind of like the Jade Mech, right? Like I have to like think of it, and then it comes to me. I don't immediately like know what it is, so I don't know, because, and I want to point this out, right? So a lot of people are thinking Guardian, right? Because the Guardian is more on the defensive side, right? The Warrior is supposed to be like this aggressive, like, it's about adrenaline, going in there, bashing enemies. That's kind of what the Warrior is about. Then the Revenant is more on this like, and the Revenant is like this weird outlier, because the Revenant can be like anything, right? It's like about infusing a different legend, and it creates, and that creates like a new warrior for you, right? Like in a weird way, right? It creates like this new thing that you can do. And you can switch. Like there is a defensive one if we do the Dwarf legend, right? If we do Jalis Ironhammer, right? Like it's more of a tanky warrior, right? But if you do something like Shiro, it becomes more of like an assassin type, and so the Revenant is more malleable in that way, where it kind of changes what it does. But the Guardian obviously is more of like the Guardian, for those of you that didn't play Guild Wars 1 at release, the Guardian was the one that was all about boons too. Just so you guys know, like the majority of boons came from the Guardian. The Guardian has had access to all of these boons. The boon distribution has really increased so much. So many professions at launch, though, before we got elite specializations, when we had the old trade system and stuff, so many professions didn't have access to a plethora of boons. They only had like a set amount of boons. Like one trope that was like very prevalent early on in Guild Wars 2 was like stacking of groups and then putting fire fields down and then blasting the fire fields in order to gain access to might, because might wasn't that easily accessible. Now, like, everyone throws around might like crazy, and you have things that, like, you have shouts that give like 10 might to like everyone around you, so it's really easy to do that. But back in the day, boons were significant because you didn't have access to them that much, right? And that's why Guardians, way early on in World vs. World, were super popular. They're still really popular to use, but back then it was just like everyone was running Guardian, not just because of how staff worked back then, but also because the accessibility to boons, right? Like all their shouts, you would get all of these different boons. Like Save Yourself, I think, is the one that gives you like all of these different boons, right? I want to say, gives you like, and that's what it did at launch too. It would give you all of these different boons, and there was none of the other professions really had that, right? Like there wasn't that, the accessibility of boons wasn't there. So, the Guardian originally was already kind of this defensive boon application, kind of supporty type warrior. So that's what I'm trying to get to with this, right? So obviously this would kind of fit with that, right? Like if we're leaning towards something more defensive, if we're leaning for something more, if we're really going into like, no, we want to deal with like just being the phalanx, right? If you guys go back again and look at the elite specialization speculations that I've made, right, like the phalanx is definitely one of those that like that I made. It was supposed to be more of like the defensive side, right? It's supposed to be more on the tankier side, and that was kind of my idea there. But how does, again, we talk about weapons too. I want to talk about weapons for a second. So we're not getting new weapons, but then we have 3 elite specializations that have weapons as their icon. We have the dagger, we have the bow and arrow, and we have the shield, right? So how does that fit? Some people had like actually a good idea where they said that like maybe those elite specializations kind of deal with the core weapons, some kind of core weapon, and they kind of enhance that core weapon, right? So you could say, oh, well, maybe the Guardian is going to get an elite specialization that kind of deals with maybe changing something on how it wields, like if this is the icon for the Guardian, maybe this is it's going to change how the shield works on the Guardian, right? Because everyone has access to the shield because it is a core weapon. It is not an expansion weapon. It's not anything tied to another elite specialization or any of like Seekers of the Obscure, Janthia Wilds, or anything like that. It is a core weapon that every Guardian has access to, but maybe it deals with like enhancing what the shield does, right? And I thought that was an interesting thought, right? I think that was... do I agree with that 100%? Not necessarily, because I still think that in order for that to happen, I feel like a lot of these weapons maybe would have to get a lot of changes, and maybe they will get changes, but we don't know. We don't know that. So I don't know. I feel like that's might be far-fetched to think about, but is that a terrible thought? No, not necessarily. Like, I think that it's still, in the end, like, somehow it's still viable, possible, right? Like, I think that's still something that could potentially happen, right? So, but one other thing I want to point out, if we're talking about the Guardian, remember, we have the Dragon Hunter, and you guys might have seen that I had that page up earlier. So, the Dragon Hunter, and we talked a little bit about the Dragon Hunter, but the icon for the Dragon Hunter is a shield. So I know that it's more of a spiky shield, right? And it's supposed to kind of like, I guess it's supposed to maybe, like, is it a shield or is it an arrowhead pointing down, right? Like, it looks like a shield to me, just the way that it looks design-wise, but it could be an arrowhead too, right? So do you guys think that, like, this is a shield, and then we would get like another shield. Again, look at like the details too. Like this is not as detailed as like this is. They're really doing like super detailed icons for all of these. It would be crazy if this turns out to be not like all 9 of those icons are not elite specializations and they're doing something completely different, but it just happens to be 9 and they're throwing everyone off with it. That would be so crazy, right? I don't think that that's what it is, but it would be crazy. But yeah, is this a shield or is this an arrowhead? I don't know, right? If this is an arrowhead that's pointing downward, then I could see a shield coming to the Guardian. But if this is a shield, I always thought of this as a shield for some reason. But now that I'm looking at it, it could be an arrowhead because the Dragon Hunter does get a bow. So we could still get a shield there. So what I want to do now, and I told you guys we were going to do this. So now that we've kind of looked at this, what I want to do, ta-da! I want to place all of them. And this is going to be really tough. Before I started streaming, I set all of this up. You know, not like there's a lot of work, but I was thinking about where I'm going to place what. And I tell you guys, I have no idea. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have no clue. So I'm going to go with the ones that I think are pretty obvious. Okay, so I'm going to start. The first one that we got, obviously, is the lute, mandolin, whatever, right? I think 100%, and cut it out, right? Loop, and then we're gonna paste it in here. I have a new layer. I've never done this stuff before, so paste it. Okay, there we go. So I think it's safe to assume it's gonna be the Mesmer, right? So I think I'm gonna place the Mesmer here. Just because, so the reason why I think that is because, first of all, the only profession that's really ever been musically, like, there has been, like, some kind of music or whatever that profession has dealt with, has been the Mesmer, right? Like, we look at the underwater trident abilities, for example, those, you know, those, like, shoot out, the auto attack shoots out, like, notes, right? Like shoots them out. So that's like musically already. Then obviously we have the minstrel. If you guys don't know exactly what I'm talking about, like there was the April Fool's thing. I talked about this when we talked about the mandolin or whatever, like after the fact or whatever, when we realized it was elite specializations, we kind of talked about that. But before the Mesmer was revealed, they had like this April Fool's thing where they had the minstrel was going to be the 8th profession for Guild Wars 2, and then like the minstrel kind of burst into these, you know, it was almost like a shatter, right, from the Mesmer, and the butterflies came out or whatever, and then boom, there was the Mesmer, right? So there is the music, you know, virtuoso being a name, right, like a musical name, blade songs that the virtuoso gets, right? Like anytime it's been music for like profession mechanics and stuff like that, I feel like it's always been Mesmer. There's been certain instances, like I think I've heard people talk about, like it could be a ranger or something like that, and I can see that, you know, I totally could, but I think in the sense of when I look at all 9, I want to say the best one that fits here is Mesmer. The other one that I think that we can all be fairly certain of is, of course, the Thief, right? Like, I think the Thief fits right here. Okay, I think the initiative symbol on here being the gambler, swindler, you know, card dealing kind of guy, you know, it fits so much with the Thief, right? So I think on those we can be fairly certain. From this point on, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I will say, let's talk a little bit about these Chinese poems that came out. I did not read any of them. There was a couple ones that I saw some posts of and I read a little bit, but I don't put too much merit into that because I feel like translation and stuff like that could kind of throw everything for a loop. Many of them are very like, sorry. Many of them are very vague in the way that they're worded and stuff. So I don't know how much merit I would put into that. But when I look at these, I get different feelings, right? So like, for one, for example, this one over here, on the right, I don't know if you guys can see, this is the top right with the swirly gigs, right? The orb looking thing. Apparently when that came out, there was talk about Quicksilver, right? And then like immediately people were like, oh, that must be the engineer. And I kind of agree with that. I kind of think that, like I said, I did get an engineer feeling with the way that these swirly gigs around it, like these swirly things, kind of how they ended on the far side. Like, I got this like engineer feeling, but I was thinking, what did I say? Like more like necro. I was thinking more necro originally, like ranger necro. Something is what I said, but I think I am leaning towards engineer on this. Okay, so let's just say for now until like because I haven't been able to really like once I actually see this, that's when I'll know how I sort all of these. So let's give the we can always move it around too. So I'm gonna give that to the engineer for now. Okay, like I'm thinking if it's Quicksilver, right? In the poem they talk about Quicksilver and something like it would be the Quicksilvers in the middle, and then there's some kind of like whatever like holographic thing or something around it or whatever, right? Like maybe it powers this or something. I don't know. The helmet one, it throws me off. So I'm gonna go with something else. So I'm really thinking this, and it gets really crazy because by the end of it, I'm like, I don't know. Oh my god, the Guardian base one is a shield. I didn't even think about that. So the Dragon Hunter must be an arrowhead, right? Like, or is it a modified? No, it must be an arrowhead that's pointed down for sure. I didn't even realize. I literally downloaded this and added this, and I didn't even. Wow. Okay, brain fart. That's okay. Anyways, so I'm thinking the dagger is another one that I could be fairly certain of because it's not 100%. Like I said, the only two that I feel like I'm like 99% sure are the Mesmer and the Thief, but everything else past that point, I'm like I don't know, you guys. So, but I did want to do this, and I did want to give you guys my final thoughts on what I think this is going to be about. Um. So necromancer, right? Like I'm thinking ritualist, right? We're getting ritualist and necromancer. This is like a sacrificial dagger, right? Like maybe it's gonna be like some blood magic plus, right? Blood magic 2 or whatever, right? Where it's like maybe a little bit like that. So, sacrifice blood, blah blah blah, ritualist, spirits, right? Death, blah blah blah. Like all kind of connects a little bit. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going with. Now it gets kind of crazy. So the middle one, let's go with the middle one, okay? The middle one, I did say I get a rangery feeling from. I was thinking like it's a shield. I don't think it's shield anymore. Okay, now that we have the reveal of an actual shield, I don't think ArenaNet would put two different icons on the same set of elite specializations that both represent a shield. So I 100% don't think this is a shield. I think this is a demonic face that we're looking at. It's a demonic face, or it's some kind of amount of blades. It's something like something coming like blades coming out, But I think this is more of like a demonic face that we're looking at here. So I am thinking it's the Revenant. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's gonna be some kind of demon legend because, and I was trying to earlier, I was trying to kind of make the argument for myself. Like I was trying to like kind of make the argument and see like what I think about all of this stuff. The thing is, so. Because one of the arguments, counter arguments that I had for myself, because you guys always know that I'm always like, defend that statement, right? When someone makes a statement, I'm like, all right, that's fine, but defend that statement. Give me some evidence, give me some proof. So I was thinking, okay, well, I look at all the icons, and I'm like, I think the Revenant fits the best in the middle because it doesn't get the ritualist, so the dagger doesn't really fit there. The other ones kind of, I don't really get the feel from the other ones really. So I'm thinking this is Revenant, but then I was thinking, okay, it looks like a demonic face, right? If we're going to demonic thing, but then I was thinking, well, we already have a demon, we already have Malix, right? So it's like, is this going to be like another Malix? Like, and then I was thinking, well, and hear me out on this. So then I was thinking, maybe with the other, with the other legends that the Revenant has, they're always a different race, right? So we have Shiro Tagachi as the human, we have Ventari as a centaur, we have King Jalus Ironhammer as a dwarf, we have Malix as a demon, we have Glind as a dragon, we have Kala as a char, right? So we start placing all of these, and I'm like, these are all different races. But then what throws that completely off? And that's the latest one. I was thinking about that, and it's like, wait a minute. The latest one was End of Dragons. And what did End of Dragons do? Introduce 2 more humans. So I was like, I mean, you could say, well, they're not regular humans. They're Luxans and Kurzik, or they're Luxan and Kurzik. But it's like, yeah, but then like Shiro was from Kantha too, and like, I don't know. That would be not really an argument. So I'm thinking, okay, so not every legend has to be a different race. They prove that with End of Dragons, right? I up until the point of End of Dragons, I always thought of like, and I kind of bring you guys back to End of Dragons, right? End of Dragons was coming out, and we're getting new elite specializations, and everyone was like, oh, what are we gonna get, right? Like, are we gonna get a ritualist, right? And people are like theorizing about this stuff, which was great, awesome, fun. A lot of people theorized, well, we're gonna get like Master Togo, we're gonna get a ritualist for the Revenant, and it's gonna be Master Togo. My argument always was, well, no, because up until that point, every new legend that we got was a different new race. Right? It was not always the same thing. It was a different race always, right? Like we had the demon and the human and the char and the dragon and the right? Like it was always something else. But then they did add humans. So I'm like, okay, so nothing is off then, right? We can have repeat races that come in. So like I said, we see a demonic face, so maybe this is a demon. Maybe we're not getting like a Marganite demon, right? We could be getting something like maybe a Cryptus, right? We've heard of Cryptus of legends from, Inayos, how like these other Cryptas, and I forgot all of their names, but all of these old Cryptas from the houses and stuff like House Mosin and stuff, like all of these old Cryptas that have existed. So we could have, for example, us channeling a different Cryptus or something, like some kind of old Cryptus from long ago, right? If I'm thinking like in Guild Wars 1 terms, I don't really see anything, but I do see a demonic face with like people are saying it's a jaw that's shutting. I don't know if it's really a jaw, because I feel like these teeth would be really long, like the upper teeth. So I'm still thinking like the face, like people actually made like pictures of that where it looks like, the left and right slits are like the eyes or whatever, and this is like still like a mouth down here of some sort. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking, the other thing a lot of people were saying also, that like stoneheads, if you guys look up stoneheads, right, the dinosaurs in Heart of Thorns and stuff, they were introduced in Heart of Thorns. They kind of have that same kind of face. It's very Mordor-y in a way. I don't think we're going to be channeling like a Mordrim, right? But like it kind of still has that same idea. It even looks a little bit like Mordremoth in a way, right? Like just the face of Mordremoth kind of looks like that too. So, but nonetheless, demons aren't off the table, because we did a repeat race with the humans coming in. I know it was two humans, and it was supposed to be like the Alliance or whatever, right? But I'm still thinking like, it's still humans. So no races off. So I'm going to go with having that for the Revenant. So that's kind of my argument there. So then things get kind of crazy. Here's my weird part. So I want you guys to see this. So if we do this, right, if we just take these guys, and we paste them in, and we say, all right, this is the like now you guys can see it side by side. I just want you guys to see these side by side, okay? Side by side, what does it all mean, right? Do you guys really think they would do this? Do you guys really think they would do this? They would have the warrior get the paragon, and then have the icon be very, very similar to the core icon, right? And do you think they're gonna have the guardian get a shield that looks in the same position, right? It has the same like direction that's going. Well, for you guys, it would be like, well, I can't even. It would be like that way, right? Like they're all facing like that way, right? Like both of the shields are looking like, and they're not looking directly at the character. right? With the warrior, we could say, well, they're looking at opposite directions at least, right? So they have like a little bit of a difference, but like, look at how similar these are. Look at how similar these are. Do you guys really think that's what it is? But then here's my whole thing. If it's not this, and we swap these two, then I don't. The warrior obviously is gonna get the paragon, but this doesn't represent the paragon at all. The paragon, yes, they did have shields, I will say, but they were never represented. Like, the shield was never the representation of the paragon. And mind you, the image that we did get, the preview image that we did get of the paragon, didn't have a shield. So I feel like if the shield was the icon, then the paragon would be wielding a shield in some shape or form. But we don't see that. What do we see? Wings. We only have two things that get wings, okay? So we have the bow and arrow with the wing icon, and someone was saying, and I have to look at it, someone said it's like a mustache. Like, I kind of see that. Someone did point that out in the comments. So I don't know. I'm really stumped by this, right? Because if we do it this way, obviously this would kind of fit, but that would be so boring. Wouldn't that be kind of boring if it's like that? I hate to be like a contrarian and just be like, wow, everyone else believes this is what it is, then this is what it must be, right? But like, if I had to place everything the way that I think right now, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of that? Do you guys think that works? Do you guys think that is... You know what really bothers me right now? That shield is like not... It needs to be up. I know that some of them are like not perfectly placed. You guys have to forgive me. I'm not a pro at this. I'm not an artiste. I'm not an artiste. Yeah, what do you guys think of this? Do you guys think that this is what it's gonna be? I don't know. I can't decide, you guys. Because, you know, for the most part, I really like the placement. I like the placement. So which ones do I really like? So I like the Mesmer. I like the Mesmer. I like the Thief. I like the Revenant. I like the Necro. I like the Engineer. Like I said, I'm leaning towards nature here. Some people might say that this is opposite. Someone was saying, well, maybe the Ranger is gonna get an elite spec that kind of deals with having their longbow be like better in some way, right? We talked about like maybe if this really is the Guardian spec, you know, and we get like a trade line that deals with like having a better shield, right? So we could be getting another one that deals with having the longbow get better for the Ranger, and then we could put that in here. But I think still, because it's an animal, and I kind of like, when I look at it colored, I could see it be more green. I don't see this being like a red colored, like a elementalist color. I really don't see it being that. Like, because you have to imagine, like, they colorize them, right? They don't look just like that. They get colored to them. So what are some colors that actually fit into this? Obviously, like, Elude would never be like purple or whatever, but like I said, there's a lot of connections otherwise. But yeah, I'm leaning towards this being the final thing, but I hate it. I hate it for the Warrior and I hate it for the Guardian. But I don't see... The thing is, someone might say, well, maybe this is the Paragon because there's wings on the bottom. But I'm like, why is there an arrow there? Like, I know someone was saying, well, what's the closest thing to like a throwing spear would be an arrow. But I'm like, yeah, but you would never represent a spear with an arrow, right? Like, why would be the arrow there? And the Paragon has never had anything to do with an arrow, right? Like, the two that we know for sure that are coming are Paragon and Ritualist, so we kind of have to consider those when we go in, right? And again, the Paragon is very much about the illusionary golden wings, right? You see it in the art, right? Like, the Ritualist is about summoning spirits, and which, again, this could be the Ritualist as well, right? Then that would leave the dagger. The Ranger gonna get the dagger? No, I don't know. I don't know. You know, if I, like, everything that I think, like, anytime I think through it, I end up like this in my head, right? This is what I end up. I know that I like I said, I hate the idea of just having an icon that looks like the original icon but updated, and same with the Guardian. but I can't see them swap this. And if I move them around, it feels wrong in a lot of ways, right? Because the other ones feel very much, like they fit perfectly in the way that they have. So I don't know. You guys are gonna have to let me know what you guys think. This is definitely very interesting. I'm very interested. These icons are very detailed. Now you see them side by side, and you can kind of look at that. But yeah, I don't know. Can I zoom in a little bit? Oh, that's a little bit too much. Zoom out. I was trying to like make it like full screen in a way, but I could do like a little bit. Oh no, it does it in. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna stop fidgeting with that. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that is the placement? Do you guys have your own? If you guys want the outline of the thing, I can certainly send that to you guys or whatever. Because I wanted to, like, a lot of people were kind of just like taking the icons and they're kind of like mushing it together, and they were kind of like overlaying a lot of things, and people were like taking, like, I don't know, I like the aesthetic of just having all of the icons with their background and stuff, like with the lines everywhere, like. It works like that aesthetically to me. So, but yeah, that's kind of my thought. What do you guys think? What do you like? What are your final thoughts? Tomorrow is the reveal, so right now is the time to come up with these final things. I don't have a bingo card. I don't know if I'm gonna make a bingo card for the reveal tomorrow, but it's gonna be super fun. We're finally gonna see where we're going, what we're doing. We're gonna get a basic story, we're gonna get like probably map information, we're gonna get like elite specialization information, feature, right? They haven't had all mentioned any features. They've talked about homesteads and how they want to expand on that, which probably means we're gonna get another homestead, but like, what is the feature gonna be? Is it gonna be another Warclaw thing, right? Like, is it gonna be another mount that they're taking, like the Jackal, or they're gonna take the Skimmer, or they're gonna take the Springer, or anything like that and do something with it, right? Like Raptor or whatever, right? Like, are they gonna do the same thing they've done with the last two expansions, or they're gonna do something else, right? So exciting. So I will see you guys here tomorrow, hopefully. I will make a video, like I said. I'll make a video. We'll go through all of that stuff. You guys want it, not a stream, but a video. So I'm going to make a video. It's probably going to be a super long video, because I'm not going to cut down everything. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't have an editor. I do everything by hand, by myself, and I don't have the time to sit there and edit like an hour and a half video and cut out all the things that maybe aren't supposed to be in there. So it's probably going to be a very long video, just be aware of that. But yeah, we're going to be doing some theorizing and stuff, and like I said, I'll probably be on stream tomorrow night. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming tonight. I might stream tonight, I'm not sure. Might not be Guild Wars, might be something else. I don't know how I'm feeling. I'm going to see. I have some stuff that I want to do. I want to work some more on new videos as well. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be live tonight. I don't know. If you guys are interested, make sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell, because that'll notify you whenever I release a video or when I go live, which is not all the time, so it's not like it's gonna bother you all the time. But yeah, anyways, so that's it. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys then. All right, bye guys.